Egypt, one of the greatest civilizations in human history, a land of pyramids, pharaohs, and vast knowledge. But who were the people of ancient Egypt? And what role did Black Africans play in its rise and legacy? Today, we explore the deep-rooted connections between Black identity and ancient Egypt. To understand Egypt's history, we must first look south, deep into the heart of Africa. The Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, originates in lands that were home to Black African civilizations such as Nubia and Kush. These regions not only traded with Egypt, but also shaped its culture, military, and even its rulers. Archaeological evidence suggests that early Nile Valley civilizations shared language, religious beliefs, and artistic traditions. The people who settled along the Nile built early communities that later gave rise to the Egyptian dynasties. These settlers were undoubtedly Black Africans, as seen in their depictions in ancient art and the genetic studies of modern populations. One of the strongest indicators of the African roots of Egypt is its artwork. Egyptian tomb paintings, statues, and reliefs often depict people with dark skin tones, tightly curled hair, and broad facial features, consistent with sub-Saharan African traits. These images are not anomalies. They are widespread across temples, burial chambers, and historical records. Furthermore, ancient Egyptian texts refer to their southern neighbors, the Nubians, with both respect and rivalry. The Nubians were not only warriors, but also traders, priests, and even rulers within Egypt itself. Their presence in Egyptian society was so profound that some scholars argue that Nubia and Egypt should be seen as extensions of the same civilizational sphere. One of the most compelling periods of Black influence in Egypt came with the rise of the Kingdom of Kush. Located in present-day Sudan, Kush was a powerful and wealthy kingdom that shared religious, linguistic, and political ties with Egypt. The two civilizations were deeply connected through trade, war, and even dynastic marriages. By the 8th century BCE, Egypt found itself in political turmoil, allowing the Kushites to seize control. This led to the 25th dynasty, often called the Dynasty of the Black Pharaohs. The Kushite ruler Piye, followed by his successors, unified Egypt under his reign and revitalized its traditions. One of the most famous Kushite kings, Taharqa, is credited with building some of Egypt's most magnificent temples and defending the land from Assyrian invasion. His reign is remembered as a golden age of unity between Egypt and its southern neighbors. Beyond politics and warfare, Black influence extended into Egyptian religion and culture. Many Egyptian gods, including Anubis, Osiris, and Amun, share iconography and origins with the deities of Nubian and other African traditions. The god Amun, in particular, was highly revered in Nubia, where he was worshipped in grand temples long after Egypt had been conquered by foreign empires. This spiritual connection reveals that Egyptian religion was not isolated. It was part of a broader African theological and philosophical tradition. Egyptian priesthoods, oracles, and spiritual practices had deep ties to those of Nubia, and the cultural exchange between these civilizations was constant. Like all great civilizations, Egypt faced decline. The Persian conquest in the 6th century BCE, followed by Greek and Roman rule, gradually changed Egypt's identity. With each invasion, Egypt became more influenced by foreign customs and governance, though its African roots persisted. The Greeks, particularly under Alexander the Great, admired Egypt's traditions and sought to integrate them into their rule. The Ptolemaic dynasty, including the famous Cleopatra, attempted to balance Greek customs with the long-standing Egyptian heritage. However, as centuries passed, Egypt's indigenous culture became increasingly overshadowed by external influences. Today, Misconceptions about ancient Egypt persist. Many Western depictions of Egyptians portray them as a people disconnected from their African heritage. However, historical evidence contradicts these portrayals. The ancient Egyptians themselves recognized their connection to Nubia and other African civilizations. DNA studies have shown that modern Egyptians retain genetic links to both the ancient populations of the Nile Valley and sub-Saharan Africa. Despite this, Hollywood and mainstream media continue to whitewash Egyptian history, often portraying pharaohs and their subjects as light-skinned or even European in appearance. These portrayals ignore the rich African heritage that shaped the civilization. Fortunately, scholars and historians are working to correct these narratives, ensuring that the truth of Egypt's black identity is acknowledged. The story of black people in Egypt is one of power, resilience, and influence. Egypt was not an isolated entity, but part of a larger African legacy. From its earliest settlers to the mighty black pharaohs, the Nile Valley civilization stands as a testament to the brilliance of ancient Africa. By reclaiming this history, we gain a more accurate and inclusive understanding of human civilization. The truth is clear. Black people were not just part of Egypt, they were its foundation.